Hey, this is Christian Buckley with Collab Talk, and I'm sitting here with Jason Himmelstein and John White, and we're having a chat. There's a slight goofiness happening.
Not us.
To happen, But guys, good morning. Why don't you introduce yourselves?
Oh, all right. I'm John White. I'm CTO and co-founder of UnlimitedViz. We are the makers of tyGraph, analytics for Office 365, SharePoint MVP, and PowerBI aficionado.
Oh, that was really fancy, John. I'm not sure I can follow that. My name is Jason Himmelstein. What?
I said pinkies up on that.
Yes. That one. My name is Jason Himmelstein. I am a technical strategy director for collaboration at Rackspace. And I am also an Office Servers and Services MVP focused on the SharePoint world. I am co-host of a little podcast called BiFocal with John White. And also a Power BI fanboy, and it's today is the Ides of March, and it's also the beginning of March Madness, and so I have given up my time to Christian on my vacation to spend time with you. So I'm obviously just a complete dork when it comes to this stuff, and love my community. So
I had more than half a day down in towards your neck of the woods, and I thought, like, hey, maybe I should venture down and visit, but I left it alone. I said, I just saw Jason. I just saw him at the
and we were supposed to go to Austin on Monday, and almost popped in and just came in to just go, hi, Christian, and then run away. Yeah, because the kids are on spring break, and we were going to go to Austin, but we decided not to because we saw with South by Southwest, it was getting a little nutty there.
Well, that's the thing is, for years I've avoided Austin this time of year, South by South. Well, I'd love to go down for the music and the food and the tech talks and all that kind of stuff. But this time I was down there for a client and actually went and did an event. It was a couple events and dinners and things, and it was like an explosion of lanyard wearers in downtown Austin, and just everywhere. And the only hotel, because my trip was last minute, I was 12 miles north of downtown. So that was awesome.
As a former Austinite, I now live in San Antonio, which is a little bit more sane. Here's a secret for you. That's not that different than normal. There are always lanyard wearers in downtown Austin. There's always great food. There's always great music. You don't have to go during South by Southwest to get all of the awesome. They just happen to have more. But the reality is you can only go to so many venues at the same time. That number's one. We're BI guys. We've done the analytics on this. You can only see so many shows.
It's a one-to-one relationship.
It is. So you can't loop this. This is a thing. So Austin, great place to visit any time of year, even when it's really cold in Canada. Really awesome in Austin, like right now. I'm in shorts. We're in Texas. It was 70 degrees yesterday.
Yeah.
This is the time of year to come down. Even when, if you come the week after South by Southwest, all the bands are still hanging around. They're still awesome.
I think Saturday it was like 78 degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, it was just like crazy warm, and it cooled off a little bit, which was great because I had to wear a jacket. So that was nice.
But you guys can both bite me, by the way.
Yeah. So, well, hey, I just woke up this morning here in Salt Lake City with about 2 inches of snow. So
there you go.
We're feeling the love here. Yeah, we're feeling the Canada love. Hey, so you guys have been doing the podcast now for how long?
Couple of years. However, we took a long break after the first bunch of episodes. We did it a little differently initially. We did it live and with video initially, and then published out. Then we came back last summer. Jason and I were both in South Africa at a conference. There was a bunch of news coming out, and we said, hey, why don't we just restart this thing out, make it syndicated, so it's a regular style podcast. And since then, we've been doing it every week.
Yeah, we kind of realized, I was talking with my mother about the podcast, and she told me that I have a face for radio and that we should stop doing it live and doing it on video, because we thought we were going to do a whole bunch of demo, and we found that it was a lot more consumable as an audio platform. We point people to a lot of good resources and things like that, and we're actually able to put it out more frequently. We are doing it every week. I'll be honest, we skipped 1 week, but we're putting it, that was last week.
That was last week.
So many great interviews. We couldn't figure out which one to do. So as a result, we're actually putting out 2 episodes this week. We're recording one later today which with Ricardo Moody, because they're going to be doing some really cool stuff with Power BI Report Server. And since this is not going out until later, we will actually have put out our podcast by the time this actually gets out there. So go take a listen. Go to BiFocal.show. You can hear all the really cool stuff because Ricardo is going to share with us some of the things that they're announcing with the new Power BI Report Server. So it's going to be really great.
He's our first repeat guest.
Oh, wow.
This is true.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, we're up to today will be episode 40. So we are closing in on that big 50 number where we'll have completed almost a year. So we'll do that by SharePoint conference.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So, without getting into like the numbers around that, but I mean, what have been some of the, topics that you've had the biggest responses around?
Well, you've been doing the analysis on this one, Jay.
This is very true.
As data guys, yeah. I mean, that seems like it would be something you guys would look at.
Yeah, it is. You know, the cobbler's kids always go shoeless, right?
Well, but believe it or not, I actually have really good analytics on our podcast. We are getting really good numbers across the board. Actually, the curve tends to be more the beginning of the week when we release something, because we release it weekly. Within 10 days, we are at almost peak numbers for each podcast. But what happens is at the beginning of a week where we're doing a news episode where it's, hey, here's the newest, latest, greatest. Because we record every week, we're able to talk about, within 4 or 5 days of something coming out, we're able to get on and explain what the Power BI team is talking about with these new features and help people understand what they're actually looking at. Because when you read their blog posts, sometimes it's not understandable exactly how cool some of these things really are. So when we get on and I ask the question and John goes, wee! It's really that's really what happens. We don't. That's why we don't do video anymore. But when we get on, we explain it. We see those numbers really spike at the beginning of the period. But when we do interviews as well, we're seeing similar numbers by the tail end. By the end of the 6-week period, our numbers sort of even out across the board. We've got a very loyal fan base or following or whatever the heck they are. But we know we have a couple of super fans for the show who send us comments and questions, which is really nice. But they also are friends of ours. So,
And then the rest are bots?
Mostly,
yeah.
Yes.
My mother, she'll repost.
Right.
Well, the reality is neither of us are developers, so we don't know how to write a bot. So they're actually
that's the point.
Yeah, well, then that's impressive then. Yeah.
Yeah, but we do know how to juice numbers, so there you are.
Oh yeah.
Well,
that bar chart, even though there are only 3 people, that thing's really tall.
Well, I know John, because you and I were kind of chatting online and did an introduction to potential new partner there, but I sat through a full day workshop on Power BI. It's one of those things where, look, I've gone in there, I've poked around in it, I've played with it a little bit, a couple of years back, but I've not had the time just to sit and invest in, the technology. And so it was great to sit and go through that, through the class. And these are mostly people that have never opened it before, and they're walking through these scenarios. And I just I was skipping ahead. What am I missing? What's new here? And I mean, I used to say it and I'll say it again. I mean, it really is a tool for the democratization
of BI.
Of BI, having deployed business objects and SAS and a bunch of other tools back in the day. I mean, I'm familiar with where that came from and how painful it was to get access just to the power users who would then create these data sets that the average user can go in there and do and kind of pre-configure this. And it really was, we spent part of the class going through and doing some data cleansing and sorting and figuring that out of how easy it is to do it. It's complex. There is a ton under the hood there.
What I think is interesting about it is how they've been able to separate the concerns within the product. So yeah, that complexity is still there. They've made dealing with that a lot simpler for the power users, but they've taken it a step further and they've basically made it consumable by end users as well, so that the power user can do their thing, the end user can consume it without necessarily being burdened by all of the tools that the power user needs. So that's a good way to look at the difference, say, between Power BI desktop and then the Power BI service itself. You don't need to know anything about data modeling to go onto the Power BI, onto a Power BI dashboard. I'll call it a dashboard. I hesitate, but let's not worry about that. You go to the Power BI service and start clicking around and getting some answers, or even editing a report maybe and selecting a few different dimensions and seeing, trying to get a few more answers. You don't have to know data modeling to do that, although that's all there. I mean, all of that traditional BI stuff and that power, I mean, at the end of the day, Power BI is really just a really nice, easy to use client for SQL Server analysis services in behind the scenes. So you've got all that power, but now it's much more approachable. There, I'll get off my rant. I will say though, the all-day session that we do is aimed at people who haven't come into the product. We walk them through the whole thing and talk about all of the pieces and parts.
So you're talking about like the SharePoint Conference North America, where you guys are doing. Is that the pre-con event?
Yeah, it's a pre-con event. We're doing it there. We're doing it at the European Collaboration Summit in May as well. The week after that. And in just a couple of weeks from now, we're doing it at SB Fest in DC, SharePoint Fest in DC. So we got 3 of those gigs, all-day gigs coming up soon.
Yeah, one of the things that I like about Power BI, and the reason why Power BI is so powerful these days, is because it's complex enough for a true data scientist to go in and do everything that they want and mash and make and do all of the really great stuff for the business and have that true grow up model. But it also is really simple to use for somebody who's been dealing in Excel for years and has their model built in Excel and figured out, I have all of my stuff. I want to be able to publish that out and be able to take right from Excel. We were talking with Olaf Hubel last week when we were at Summit, where he's responsible now on the engineering side for a lot of the Excel side of the world, and be able to have people build stuff in Excel where they've known how to do Excel for 25 years. It's out there.
I loved Excel services. Yeah.
But beyond that, like be able to take that and be able to publish that into Power BI and then work with Power BI on the canvas very simply, very easily. And the classes that we teach, the goal is always to make sure that, that data scientist who's sitting there who wants to get the deep understanding out is not overpowered, is not the only person in the room that we're trying to get to. It's the person who's just walked in and gone, I heard Power BI and I came into the room. I've heard about it, but I don't know anything about it. Show me what I can do.
Is that most people who attend your workshops? They wander in like off the street, kind of.
More often than not, they've wandered out of an Andrew Connell type of workshop where they thought they were a developer, but found out very quickly maybe we're not. Maybe we're just we're users of something, and it's not just JavaScript. It's something really complex, and they've wandered into our session. They go, how do I now, after I've missed the first 2 hours of this, what can I get out of it, and what can I go build? And very quickly, we find that people who, I've done this for work, where I spend an hour with someone and they're able to then take it. And 2 weeks later, I come back and I talk to them. They go, look at my stuff. Look at how cool I've done all of these things.
That's what I did.
Yeah. And they've now become masters of their own world of BI. And, you can sprinkle a couple of new things in. And that's what's really great with Power BI is that they're always putting new stuff into the service. They're improving it all the time. Desktop is new every month. Service is new every month. All sorts of great new stuff. It really is something that if you want to stay at the forefront, you have to keep up on it every week, and that's why John and I do the podcast as well. So
and of course, every time we do the presentation, we have to go back and edit the bloody slides.
we revamped everything. We keep the names quite similar, but every time we do it, half the content is new. Even though we're doing an all-day workshop, it really is. What are the new demos that we're going to shove into this thing every time we do it? Unless there's been more than a 2-week gap, right? If it's been a month, we have to redo half of what the content is in order to make sure that it's up to date.
I had a similar conversation with Daryl regarding 365 and what they do with just an overview of Office 365. I mean, there's so much. I mean, I thank you guys for taking that on, because it really is. I'm sure you guys hear this question too. Is like, how do you keep up with all the different things? And for one, I mean, you really do have to be focused in the specific area. It's, Daryl and team, Daryl and Daniel, Glenn they're touching on like the latest changes that have been, through the message center announced. And so that's like scraping the surface of what's happening within that. You guys are doing that on the Power BI side. You really do have to look at, okay, what's my role? What's the interest there? And then find a couple experts that are doing these shows and staying up on date. That's probably the best way to keep up with what's happening.
Yeah, the way I like to describe it is the podcast is that top layer. Coming to the workshop that we do really lets you dive in deep, and that's where we spend our time. Like for the full day, it's answering all the questions. It's digging in on all of the new stuff, giving a background and a baseline. But because we spend so much time with this stuff, we update that workshop every month in order to stay up and current. So that's the way that this works out really well, is that people can get all of that data coming to a show where we're talking. And from now until the end of summer, we pretty much are someplace every month, and it's updating every single month.
Jason, I would say that it's not just until the end of summer. No matter what time of year it is, there you are. So, I mean, you're somewhere. I know.
This is true. John and I really don't stay home ever.
It was a year ago, I think. Every single week I saw you, and it was at a different city.
Different continent sometimes too. It was really, really weird.
I'm talking about this. Like we never see each other where we live. I mean, when I'm living in Seattle for 12 years, I never saw anybody in Seattle. Like all my Microsoft friends, I saw them out on the road somewhere.
Yeah, Chris McNulty and I lived, 20 miles from each other, and not once in 2 years did we see each other in Boston area.
Yeah,
it was always on the road, and it was every month. Hey, how you doing? We never bothered to see each other at home.
Man. Well, guys, so I know that you've got a lot going on. Jason, you're on the verge here. We're keeping you from vacation. He's actually
There's basketball to watch, Christian. Come on, man. You're on the clock.
So how can people find out more about the show and get in touch with you guys?
You can go to BiFocal.show. You can find us on all of your favorite podcast listening venues, from Stitcher to iTunes to all the different ways. My kids actually, when I'm not home because I travel so much, they'll ask Alexa to play the Bifocal show, and Alexa's going to try and do that right now, but because I have an echo on my desk. So you can find us any of those ways. We do have a blog out there at www.bifocal.show. SoundCloud is where we host the podcast, though, and you can follow us there, or you can follow John or I on Twitter, and we are always posting when we get new shows out. My Twitter handle is at Jasehim, JASEHIMM, and John's is really, really simple.
At Diver Down 1964, which is something I had to do because you can't get John White. It doesn't work out that well.
You can get John White 49268 these days. That one's open. That just opened up. That's a low number.
Look, mine, Buckley Planet. I did it. I came up with that name to kind of poke fun at my brother-in-law, who had a website called Fisher Planet. So I did it as a joke. I'm just stuck with it, But
I finally changed mine from SharePointelhorn about a year ago. Yeah, everybody kept going, what is SharePointelhorn? Well, it's SharePoint L-horn, because Longhorn. I thought longer Twitter handles were better. I didn't.
Because another 3 letters would have really put you over the top.
It would have 15 characters. I only had the max there. So
That's right. Well, guys, thanks a lot for your time here, and push this out, share this, and let you know when it all goes live. But Jason, have a great vacation.
Thank you, sir. Next time, you're supposed to bring us lunch. I thought this digital sack lunch.
Yeah, where's my lunch? It and eat your own lunch. Buy yourself lunch. Nice try.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. And John, I owe you a phone call anyway about that other the project, the public sector stuff. So always lots going on, but. See, these are my guys around Power BI. So when I've got questions and need to involve people in projects, this is where I go as well. So
no shortage of stuff to do on my end. Don't sweat it.
That's right. All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Take it easy, Christian.